Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining me today as we walk through our horse safety training for the year. For those of you that have done this before, it's relatively the same. We're just doing it through a video rather than in person, just so that you can watch it on your own time. And then for those of us that are new, uh, normally this would be an in-person training, but just with life being super busy around these times of months, we just wanted to give you a little bit of flexibility and not have you have to worry about making one specific day work for the training. So how it'll work is that you will watch this video of me walking through this PowerPoint, and then at the end of the video, we will ask you that you take a quick, like 5 to 10 question quiz at the end, just to verify that you listened to this video. Upon the completion of that quiz, I'll then send you out all the paperwork that you will need in regards to uploading your horse online. Just filling out the proper paperwork to establish that you've done what is necessary to qualify for being able to participate in county horse show and state horse show if you so choose. So what we'll be talking about today is horse ownership, responsibility, safety, and education. So pretty much what we're going to be talking about is, are you thinking about owning or breeding your own horse? This is a very rewarding and challenging journey to take for you, but there are certain things to keep in mind before embarking on the journey of owning or breeding your horse. And so ideally within this presentation, we can answer some questions that you may have during this time. All right, so like we said, it can be rewarding, but what is really at stake when you're owning a horse? So it can make you so proud to see your hard work at maintaining your own horse, because that really pays off. However, it's important to remember that not every day of caring for a horse is as easy as it may seem. It takes commitment. So when we look at rewards compared to the responsibilities or the cost, based off these facts and other things you may know about taking care of horses, you can try to weigh out those kind of pros and cons a little bit to determine if horse ownership would be right for you. So obviously some rewards, horses can be companions, they can be friends, it can be a partnership based off of whatever you're using your horse for. So whether you're using it for ranch work, whether you're using it specifically for horse show, maybe, or rodeo, whatever that might look like, those are rewards. So those are reasons why it would be beneficial to own a horse. And then maybe some responsibilities, obviously time, commitment. You need to have the proper fencing and shelter. Um, Taking those extra things into consideration would be like hoof care, the cost of feed, the cost of vet care, deworming, and then just the cost in general. And the cost of owning a horse varies greatly depending on the type of horse you use, what you want to use that horse for, and then even something as simple as where the horse or the owner lives. So this is based off the average cost for owning a horse, but it can cost much more. On average, owning a horse does cost about $2,500 per year. The smallest expense is often the purchase price. So that's something to take into consideration as well. Regardless, responsible horse ownership means being prepared to pay money for the things that we mentioned previously, like the housing, like the fencing to keep your horse safe, money to buy your food and maintain your pastures, paying a farrier to perform hoof care, purchasing regular dewormers and vet visits as well. And when we add all these things up, a horse that one received for free or for very cheap, based off whatever you bought him or her for, quickly becomes a expensive animal when you add it all up. Many of the rewards and responsibilities for breeding your horse are the same as owning one, but it just kind of multiplies. Foals start out small, but remember they will still need space and vet care. And as they grow, they will need food and farrier work just like your other horses as well. It is important to know that another horse can fit into your budget. There is also a certain amount of vet bills and risk that goes with breeding your horse. And unfortunately, things sometimes can go wrong, and it's important to be prepared that it may cost more in vet bills and also adds risk to your mare and foal. So something to think about is there a market for the horses you plan to produce? Depending on what your plans are for your foal you breed, you may decide to keep and train your foal or try to sell it for profit. Selling a horse has generally become more difficult in recent years for a variety of reasons, but selling a horse can be a way to make some money, especially some of the money back that you've spent on him. But you can't guarantee that there will be someone that wants to buy your horse or for the price that you want for him. So if we breed less horses, that means those who are trying to sell horses may be able to sell them for more money, which is also something to take into consideration as well. One responsibility that comes with producing horses is producing horses only when there is a need or a market identified for them. When breeding your horses, that can be very fun. It can be an awesome experience to go through. Based off what we've already talked about, like being responsible breeding can only mean breeding horses if you know you can afford them, breeding things like high quality horses, breeding only as many as you have time and money for, and choosing not to breed horses that have behavioral or conformational defaults. So just trying to breed the highest quality horse that you can, not overloading yourself. So if you absolutely do not have time to go through the breeding process, maybe it's not the best decision for you. The fewer horses that are bred, the more money people can get when they sell their horses. If you do decide to breed your horse, there are several ways to achieve this. Horses can breed naturally in the pasture, but it is something that you'll notice it's often hard to monitor how many horses become bred and therefore how many foals you'll have. So if you're concerned that you don't have the money or the time for unlimited foals, perhaps you should consider hand breeding, where the mare and stallion meet with handlers holding each one of them. Also, some horses are bred artificially for a variety of reasons. However, they can have just as many foals this way. Often, this is a method that's like the safest for your mare and stallion as well. A very important part of responsible horse ownership is castration, which is called a gelding in the horse industry. It has been said that up to 90% of the horses are not capable of being a quality breeding stallion because they have poor genetics, their performance might not be up to par, their behavior might be on edge or attitude. So the 90% rule, only 10% of horses should have babies. Should you decide that you don't want to breed your mare horse or your stallion, it's always a good idea. So when you come to that decision on whether you would like to castrate him or geld him, that's pretty much a special surgery to prevent the horse from being able to breed. And this is most often performed by your vet. It can make him healthier and happier in the long run when we think about that. A gelded horse, which is called a gelding, obviously, can be churned out with female horses, your mares, without worrying about behavior. Stallions and mares can rarely be churned out alone unless you want them to breed. So that's something to think about as well. Geldings are often more calm to be ridden and handled and can go to more events without worrying about their behavior. This is a surgery that many ranchers choose to do themselves, but it's, again, usually safer to perform when it's performed by a vet. In either case, it's a surgery and should only be performed by a very experienced or skilled horseman or vet. And risks of this operation include complications from surgery and the comfort level of your horse. It should only be performed outside in mild weather and in a place where the horse can move around freely but calmly with limited distractions as he recovers. The benefit of having a vet versus another horseman complete this procedure is that a vet can use anesthesia or painkillers for the job. That way your horse is kind of numbed up so he can't feel a thing. When thinking about this, the thing that I can recommend to you guys is consult your vet about the ideal age and time to geld your colt. Many people elect to geld their colts around a year, and the ideal timing would be about after freezing temperatures are through, but before hot and humid weather, when flies are abundant within the area. A horse that will be gelded requires several care considerations before the surgery. So first, you want to make sure that he's up to date on his vaccinations to prevent infection during or after the surgery. Important vaccinations include things like tetanus, easily spread at the incision sites, among others. A horse that is going to be castrated also needs to have some handling beforehand. No matter how young he is, it's super difficult to give injections if a stallion is unable to be caught or handled. At the beginning of this surgery performed by a vet, the horse may receive a sedative first to relax him. This makes him very sleepy, his head and ears will droop, his eyes may even close, and he may rest a hind leg. Then the vet will decide to give him an anesthetic to make him sleep completely, where he'll lay on the ground, or simply an injection at the site of the surgery so that he continues to stand up during surgery. Either way, the horse should not be able to feel the surgery site. So it just kind of depends on what your vet recommends or what you're most comfortable doing. Horses, again, can be gelded while laying down completely, sleeping, or standing up, even when they're sedated. In either case, they receive anesthetic and pain management at the area of the surgery so they can't feel anything. Horses tend to heal faster and have an easier surgery when they have been given anesthesia. Plus, it's easier on his handlers and those completing the surgery. So as you can see in the pictures, the left picture is preparing a horse for being gelded while standing, known as a standing castration. A horse that is standing is sedated or sleepy, and his testicles, the site of the surgery, have been given anesthetic so he cannot feel the surgery. On the right, with the pictures, this horse has been gelded while completely anesthetic, while being given an anesthetic or totally sleeping. It is important that a down horse's eyes are protected, such as with the rag, as you can see at the bottom. This will protect the eyes from overexposure to sunlight and from dirt and debris. Also to protect facial nerve damage. It is best that his head is kept above the ground with a soft piece of material such as a pillow. So making your horse as comfortable as possible is very important. After surgery, your horse will need about, give or take, 20 to 40 minutes to recover, to wake up from surgery. This should be in a safe, quiet place where he can get up, kind of walk around, safe from any sharp equipment or other horses, and with plenty of room to just ease back into movement. He may look dizzy and need a few minutes to regain his footing safely. Also, there will be drainage from the site of the surgery for about 2 to 3 weeks. But this, again, is completely normal, so it's important that he can walk around during this time to encourage blood flow. This is also to minimize complications and prevent swelling. However, he shouldn't be ridden or worked hard during this recovery period, as just like with any surgery, he will be very sore. A good way to make sure he moves around is to turn him out in a small, quiet, enclosed area, or to hand walk him like you can see with that little girl and her pony, for increasing amounts of time per day. To recap, gelding can be a positive surgery for many horses. If you're not sure your stallion is fit for breeding, or if you know you will not choose to breed him in the future, gelding him can be a cost-effective way to keep himself and yourself safer. Again, geldings are typically more well-mannered than stallions, meaning they can be churned out with other horses with little worry. Living in a herd setting is more natural for a horse, and a gelding can typically live with other horses with fewer problems than stallions. Also, many competitions have stricter rules for stallions, including restricted classes or stalling guidelines. You may be more able to exercise and show your gelding as opposed to your stallion. And lastly, geldings can sometimes be more predictable than stallions, leaving both horse and rider in a potential safer environment. Now that we've learned about geldings, we'll move on to mares. Broodmares are female horses that are specifically chosen to be used for breeding. Just like male horses, however, not all mare horses should be used for breeding. When selecting your broodmare, it is important to make sure that they have traits that you want to reproduce. Things like they are sound and healthy and have a desirable disposition. Oftentimes, it's a good idea to wait and see how your mare can perform in the discipline you have selected for them before choosing them to be a broodmare. Finally, making sure that your mare is in a good condition and will be capable of foaling and lactating while maintaining this condition. 1 month prior to foaling, you want to begin preparing your foaling area. This area should be clean, warm, and dust-free to help both the mare and foal stay healthy. Also, this area should be large. A foaling stall should be about double the size of a regular stall that you would have for the breed of horse. It is also a good idea to have the mare be familiar with the foaling mare to minimize the stress on her prior and during to foaling. Lastly, make sure your foaling area is heavily bedded with a clean, dust-free bedding. Straw is usually the best choice when we think about that. When it's time to begin preparing your mare for foaling, you want to begin by wrapping her tail or tying it up. Next, you want to wash both her udder and perineum. It is also a good idea to keep her coat nicely groomed to help keep her in a good condition. Finally, you can hand walk your mare as needed to help relieve any edema, which is swelling in her legs. But if she is fine on her own, it is best to just let her follow her own instincts. And when foaling is taking place, it's important to try not to disturb the mare so she does not get too stressed. You can do this by being quiet and careful while in the foaling area. Throughout the process, keep a close watch on the mare. Make sure to have your vet's phone number clearly posted in the foaling area so anyone in the foaling area can contact your vet in case of an emergency. It's important to just kind of make sure that if at all possible, your horse does this as natural as possible without you disrupting her. But again, if she needs help, you always want to make sure to give your vet a call. After the foal is born, there are a few things that should happen in order, and if these do not occur, you might want to contact your vet to have them come examine your foal. In general, a healthy foal should stand within 15 minutes of being born. Next, the foal should nurse for the first time within the first 2 hours of birth. This is absolutely essential as the antibodies and nutrients passed from the mare to the foal through the colostrum can determine if the foal will live or die. Your vet will be able to advise alternatives if the foal does not nurse and receive colostrum during this time, but actions will need to be taken. Finally, the foal should pass the meconium within the first 2 hours after birth. Meconium is the first manure a foal will pass. It is thick and tar-like, which makes it sometimes difficult for the foal to pass. Therefore, we need to observe the foal, and in the event that they are straining, seek a trained adult to administer an amoeba. Once these steps have taken place, you should notice that the foal has developed a routine that includes investigating, eating, and sleeping. We've covered what should be expected on the foal after birth, and now we'll cover what should be expected on the mare after foaling. First, she should take a short period of rest. After this rest, she should be responsive to her foal. This should include licking and grooming her foal, as well as vocalizing between the mare and the foal. Also, the mare should stand and continue tending to her foal. She should also encourage her foal to nurse. It is important to watch your mare and foal closely for a time after foaling as well. During the first week after foaling, both the mare and the foal should continue eating and drinking regularly, as well as have regular bowel movements and urination. They should continue to play and rest together as well. During this first week after foaling, it's important to make their temperature daily as well as check their vital signs to make sure that they are both staying healthy. All right, so in conclusion, breeding horses and raising foals are fun. However, remember how much time and money each horse requires. Before you choose to breed your horse, make sure you have the time, facilities, and money to raise a horse. If you decide not to breed your horses, gelding your mare horses is a way to guarantee that they won't have they won't have unwanted offspring, and they can also be safer and easier to maintain in the long run. But boys aren't the only ones that require special care. Remember that not all mares should be used as brood mares. Once you have selected your brood mare, it is important to take good care of her and your foal once she has her foal. All right, so that's the end of the PowerPoint. Once we are done here, we will ask that you complete the quiz. And then once you complete the quiz and we get notified here at the office that you have, we will send out the proper help sheets and documents that you will need in order to upload your horse onto 4-H Online. Thank you, and you guys have a great rest of your day.